Good afternoon, fight fans, and welcome to a YouTube live with the legendary Bruce Buffer. And as he says, it is time. I had to do it. I had to do it. How you doing today, Bruce?
That's right to know. All good. Enjoy it. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm good afternoon, doing well, doing well. And welcome to a YouTube one live with the legendary Bruce Buffer. And as he says, it is
You wanted to hear
time.
yourself again.
All right, yeah, I was hearing myself. I'm so sorry about that.
That's okay.
Bruce, how we doing during COVID period time? Is business still booming? I know you have the fights every weekend, but throughout the week, what are you doing to keep yourself busy?
I'm very busy in a number of business ventures. I'm coming out with my own, releasing my own line of bourbon called Puncher's Chance, which is being released this week in 8 states throughout the country. I've got many other projects I'm working on. Strangely enough, business for me is quite busy, very busy aside from UFC. I say that with sensitivity and respect to everybody out there that's going through rough times right now with COVID. It's a time we all have to be safe and strong and deal with this best we can. What I've done is embraced it as best I can to get in the best physical and mental shape that I possibly can during this time period so that when the gates open, we come out of the gates and we're more, we're ready to do business better than ever. Right.
Absolutely.
So business is booming as of today. We'll see what happens tomorrow. UFCs are happening. We're leading the way for the world to know how to put on sporting events. And it's been a great asset to other people that are, out there trying to get these events together. But I think we're going to be in this for another 6 to 12 months minimum. And then it's going to be another couple years until we even get back to any semblance of the normality that we used to know back before February or March. Not a pessimist. I'm a optimist, but we have to be a realist at the same time. And you need to stay safe. You need to wear your mask. You need to wash your hands. Otherwise, you're going to be part of the problem, not part of the solution.
Absolutely. And how was your experience with Fight Island? The UFC changed it up this time to have kind of a more bubble situation as they had in Jacksonville, Las Vegas, and then went over there for the international fighters.
It was done very well. We were quarantined for 24 to 72 hours, being tested 1 to 3 times before we got there. Before we got there once, twice when we got there. I can't complain. I'm in a suite at the W Hotel, which is beautiful, but there's only so much to do. You're in a bubble, and to stay in the time zones, you sleep during the day, you stay up at night. I'm not complaining. It's an experience and it's fun. It's not the way it would have been last year, but it's still the UFC is doing all they can, and we all have to be respectful and happy that we're working and that we're out there providing entertainment for the people out there that love the UFC. And I love the UFC, and every time I get to walk in the octagon, like this coming Saturday, I'm ready to rock and roll.
And thank you so much for making that trip and traveling over there to give us that experience because you're a very integral, important part of the watching the fighters and introducing the fighters and the whole experience of being in an octagon.
Thank you, thank you, thank
If
you.
I can go back just a little bit, you used to kickbox, do a little bit of judo, some tank sudo. Did you ever have like the insight, like I'm gonna fight? Remember, you know what? I want to get in that cage, or I want to be
Oh
some
yeah,
kind of fighter.
yeah. I mean, I started martial arts at 12. I have 3 black belts, and I kickboxed heavily for 10 to 12 years. And during that time period, I actually was considering taking a 3 round fight here at the LA Forum, where I had connections to possibly get a bout. And just to say, I fought for professional one time, but I got concussed a couple times during training, which probably was not the only 2 times I've been concussed. And I was 32 at the time and doing very well in business. And my doctor said, "Are you making money at this?" I go, "No, I'm doing this out of my own love for it." He goes, "Stop." Train. He goes, "Stop taking punches to the head. You're going to have issues, in 10 years if you keep this up." So I listened to him, and I've had plenty of my share of fighting and going toe to toe with people. So nothing left to prove, and all to enjoy.
Absolutely. And this is one question a lot of my fans on the page wanted me to ask you is, and I thought about it myself. You meeting your brother later on in life, did that give you an encouragement to like, you know what? I love to see what he's doing, and he just like makes you want to get in there and announce as well. Or did you always have that in your mind that that's something you wanted to do, especially with
Well, I
a voice like you have?
Thank you. Thank you very much. And a good question. I always had a love of being up on stage and motivating people and talking to people. And I did that a lot in businesses up until the point that I met Michael and started announcing in my late 30s. But obviously, meeting Michael and seeing what he did put an emphasis on that. But when I took over his management after we met, 4 years after we met, we agreed that I would not announce boxing, right? There was no money in it. He's going to make him full money and it would be a confliction of interest. And I said, that's okay. Something will come along. And the rest is history. So everything's going according to schedule. And I never wanted to be Frank Sinatra Jr. and be like Michael. I wanted to have my own individual style created on my own, or I told myself within 2 years I would not do this job. So, and luckily all worked out.
Absolutely. And so you were his agent manager, and he did a couple of things for WCW for the wrestling fans out there. Any specific memory you have in those WCW days with Hulk
Oh yeah,
Hogan
the
or Macho Man?
WCW. Yeah, it was incredible going to those days, and you're in the back with Sting and Hulk Hogan and Goldberg, and on and on and all those great wrestlers back in the heyday. It was a lot of fun going to events like that as Michael's manager, and they put on a great show, and nothing but good things to say. They're not fighters, but they are fighters, but they're actually doing incredible stunt work during their show, and one slip and they get hurt, and they get hurt a lot. So I have nothing but respect for professional wrestlers. They're putting on 150 or more shows a year.
Yeah,
Try doing that, traveling the road and doing what they do. It's not easy.
absolutely. Bruce, if from your beginning days in the UFC, was there any specific moment that you were just like, you know what, I made it, I want to be here, and this is what I want to do
Right from day one.
right from day one?
Everything's going according to schedule. I knew exactly it was going to be one of the biggest things ever in sports. I knew it was going to be that way. So I believed in it, followed it, stuck with it. And in life, when you realize something, and I'm a builder of brands, as I've proven on a couple of occasions, let's get ready to rumble. It's time. And UFC and what I've done for them through my own want to do what I've done for them outside of being an announcer. Yeah, I knew it was going to be huge. So I always think 3 steps ahead, like in chess, and I always have foresight to what I do.
Absolutely, and that's awesome. Is there in there was a time to where you did the buffer bow with Randy Couture. Do you think there will be another fighter who will ever get that privilege to have them bow down to him? Because Randy Couture is a legend in the sport, and he is somebody that everybody looks up to. Anybody else ever get that privilege?
When it gets to that point, there's a possibility, but right now there's no candidates.
No,
they have
yeah,
they have a lot more work to do. And there
absolutely.
are some greats out there. You never know what I may do for Habib's last fight, whenever he declares his last fight. Because Habib is one of the few people I thought would never happen, but he's one of the few, if not the only one, that I think has a chance of retiring undefeated. In the
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I hope to see that fight with him and George St. Pierre if he wants to do that as his final fight, but we'll see if that happens.
I can't wait to see anytime George steps in the octagon. It's great. I just hope I don't blow my ACL when he's in there like I did one time with him.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, how did you feel like surviving after because you did the jump, right?
No. I rolled my ankle in a poker tournament the week before, and my ankle was weak, and I couldn't stand on my leg Thursday before the Saturday of the show. And then when I got in the octagon, adrenaline took over everything. And when I announced George's name, I went, "George, rush!" And he lunged out, and I bunny hopped back the way I normally do when I announce his name. And my ankle wobbled. It didn't land correctly, and my knee exploded, and the ACL severed right there. But I didn't fall, which is good. You see me like hop out on one leg, but at least I didn't fall, so it's okay. It's all good.
Very true.
And
So,
then George and I wound up. George blew his knee 2 months later. He got operated on by the same doctor to repair his ACL, and we wound up in rehab together.
with George St. Pierre, what are the odds that would happen at the same
Oh,
time?
it's so funny. We were cracking up.
Is there speaking of announcing names and just like feeling the energy from those fighters? Do you feel like when you give them the fist bump or they get in their face like you do with Michael Chiesa, is it just in the moment there, or is that something they tell you before?
No, it's purely organic. I never rehearse. I go in there and bring all my energy in, feed off the energy of the fighters, the crowd when there's crowds. But it's always me and the fighter. And I've never instigated a fist bump in my life. They instigated with me, and it's an honor. It's an honor they allow me to enter their space. They could easily pop me. And it's not the case. I'm the only announcer that I know of that organically has gotten to the point where I do that. I've been doing that for years. And I can't tell you. I mean, if I jump, if I turn, if I do anything, it's because that's what I'm feeling at the moment.
Absolutely. And speaking of jumping and turning, we got the buffer 45, the buffer 90, the buffer 180.
Yeah.
Will we ever see the 360 come back?
You've seen it grounded, but not jumping in the air and spinning. And that's one and done. Certain things need to only be done once to be remembered, hopefully forever, for the whatever that might be. And Joe Rogan and I actually talked about that after I did it, and we agreed that one and done.
So
I've done 360s on the ground and turned around plenty of times, but to jump up and do like
the
that,
jump up 360, yeah, that was UFC 100, right?
UFC 100 in front of the monster Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar, that's right. Is there any the last two questions before I get you out of here, Bruce? And I appreciate the time. Thank you so much. Is there any specific fighter that you love announcing, like their nicknames, and you just feel a certain energy within the crowd because you've done announcing in front of 65,000 people 45,000 people in Vegas, like the Conor McGregor, so will come up to the middle and do his thing. Do you feel a certain energy from somebody like him, or anybody you announce, you just put that passion into it because you want to make sure their name is getting put out there?
Exactly right. What you just said. No matter what it is, everybody there deserves an equal opportunity for my announcing. I want to give them the full bore. Obviously, main events are main events, co-main events are co-main events, championships are championships. The meatier the name, the longer the pedigree, like a Randy Couture, like a Khabib Nurmagomedov. Randy was the former, the UFC Octagon Hall of Fame warrior. I mean, any announcer is going to eat that meat up, right? So the longer the name, the better. The shorter the name, the harder. Mike Swick, Frank Trigg. You got to make those sound right. Single syllables. Give me as many syllables and as hard a name as it possibly can be.
Absolutely. And final question before I let you go here, Bruce, and I have to know this for my own personal just self. How many tuxedos do you have? Because you have the most legendary tuxedos, and I just always think, what is he going to bring out now? Do you have a specific mindset to like, okay, I'm going to be in this city, I'm going to wear these kind of colors, or you just kind of pick from what you have in your closet?
Yeah, I mean, I have new ones made every year. Obviously, when I wear it, it goes to the back of the rack, works its way forward. But it just depends. I mean, obviously in Canada, I have the red Canadian jacket with the Canadian flag inside. It depends. It just depends. I try to feel the spirit of the event at hand and pick the right tuxedo for it.
Absolutely. Bruce, thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it. Hope to speak to you soon. I met you a couple years back in Las Vegas, and you gave me really good advice. And I'm glad I'm here and I got to finally do an interview with you. Hope this is not the last one, and I hope to speak to you soon.
Thank you very much, Darnell. And I wish you all the best. I do remember meeting you, and you've got a nice setup there. You're doing a great job. Also, for your fans and people that are UFC fans, go to my site, brucebuffer.com, or you can go to Cameo, where I'm Cameo. I offer championship introductions in audio and video. So you're being announced as a champion in the cage, and we do them for very reasonable prices, and partial proceeds go to charities, animal, military, and children. But I do a ton of these now. People are looking for entertainment during the COVID period, and the thank you notes we get are just astounding. It's really good to make the fans really feel like they're a champion, shall we say. And speaking of which, this is Puncher's Chance.
All right, there's a whiskey.
That's
right
my
there,
bourbon.
man. That's amazing.
Yep.
Beautiful
It's
bottle.
all about the underdog.
Yeah,
the bottle weighs 4 to 5 pounds filled. It's very special glass, very high-end quality bourbon. And I'm very excited about this. This is one of my big ventures that just
when
getting released this week.
When is that release?
This week in 8 states.
Week?
Yeah, just follow me on Instagram which is at Bruce Buffer UFC, or Twitter at Bruce Buffer. I'll be making all the announcements. But yeah, we're just now coming out. First 5,000 cases are already answered for. Another 10,000 on the way, and you'll see.
Absolutely.
It's incredible. If you like a good bourbon, it's the highest quality bourbon on the market. I can honestly say that.
I'll be sure to grab a bottle of that, and I'm going to compare it to the proper 12 and see which one I
Go
like.
for it.
But I'm sure I like yours better. Bruce.
Proper 12's a whiskey. This is a
bourbon.
bourbon.
You're right. This is a bourbon. I'm so sorry. That's two different things.
Go ahead and compare. I'm happy to go toe-to-toe with Conor.
Yours will be better, Bruce. I appreciate it so much. Thank you for the time again, Bruce. Have a great day.
All right. Cheers. All the best to you, my friend.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.